Since Chair Nash is not a member of the committee, I will move that House File 2824 be laid over for possible inclusion in a future bill. Chair Nash, if you'd like to go ahead and introduce.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chair. So first, I want to thank my bipartisan co-authors. This is a true bipartisan effort. There are 2 Democrats, 2 Republicans on the bill. And if you spend any time on Minnesota lakes, like I do, smallmouth bass caught on Mille Lacs, you'll recognize that bass fishing or fishing in general is one of the great legacies that we have in the state of Minnesota. And this bill would simply remove the seasons that we have on bass. Now, I will admit, when I was first asked to carry this bill, I wanted to understand the biology behind all this, and I have testifiers here who can attest to the fact that, from a biology perspective, that the bass have plenty of time to nest and breed, and that there actually has been historic upticks in bass population in the netting that has gone on. But the practical value of this is, if you've ever been associated with some of the youth tournaments that you see in high school as a sport, this is actually going to increase their ability to have fishing days on the lake. Because when you have a season, you can't target a species, and if you can't target a species, you can't have a tournament that's focused on that particular species. So this time of year, you could have a crappie tournament, and that's not all that exciting, but a bass tournament would be. So the value of this will be secondary for our resorts and just for general commerce. If you understand that the resort region has suffered in years past, having the ability to go and angle for bass without a limitation of a season would be very helpful and beneficial for them. So it is a very simple bill and a very bipartisan bill. And if you've never spent a day on the water, I will tell you that there is nothing that cannot be solved by going out and dropping a line and doing a little bit of fishing. So, Mr. Chair, I have some testifiers, if you would be so kind.
Looks like we have Mr. Holston up first. If you would introduce yourself for the record, you know the drill.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Members, my name is Mark Holston. I'm the Executive Director for the MinFish Sport Fishing Foundation and Coalition. We are a nonprofit organization that works and advocates for anglers throughout the state of Minnesota. Where our primary concern is, or issues are, wanting to improve fishing in Minnesota through proper management and quality management. We see this as a small step in providing the opportunity for anglers throughout Minnesota to be able to go out and enjoy the sport that they love. As this committee, I know, is aware, when you add the number of licensed anglers throughout the state of Minnesota and then incorporate the unlicensed, which are your kids under the age of 15, 16, you're in that 30% of Minnesota population is an angler. And we see this as a small step to open that opportunity for them to be able to go out and enjoy the sport that they so passionately enjoy. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Next, I think I have Jim Bell. Thank you, Jim. If you'd like to introduce yourself for the record and go ahead with your testimony.
I will, thank you. First off, thank you to everybody for representing the state of Minnesota. We truly appreciate it. My name is Jimmy is what I go by, Bell. I am president of the Student Angler Organization in the state of Minnesota. We are a nonprofit that was started really to give youth anglers more opportunities across the state, but also, just as importantly, to get their parents out and going as well. As Mark stated, we've had great support for this whole effort across all avenues. The student anglers and the anglers of Minnesota certainly are supportive of this. We have pushed upon it for years, and we're happy to see it coming to fruition. We know that the Minnesota DNR and its leadership is fully supportive of this. We also know that MinFish, as he mentioned, the advocacy group for the state of Minnesota fishermen, is fully supportive. The Mille Lacs Band and the Leech Lake Band are fully supportive of it. And certainly the data and the science shows that the impact is not there. So one way to look at that is truly to look at a survey that was done or analysis did for the DNR just recently. It took 53 years worth of data. So that's really netting and things like that to really count the amount of bass that are in the state. Over those 53 years, on average, largemouth bass per year has increased by count by 4.5%, smallmouth bass 3.4%. So every year we've seen an increase, which is pretty amazing. The one tie-in that I really want to bring in is the student angling side of it, as people have said. We've seen a huge increase in student angling in the state of Minnesota, which is just absolutely awesome. The more we can get people outside, and I think part of it is due to the new cool thing in schools is the outdoors. And keeping people in the outdoors really is a great way to introduce ethics and things that I think are very important. So we've seen that increase for 5 to 10 years, and probably not any more than we saw over COVID. As you all realized, we had a huge increase of sporting activities outside during the COVID period, which is pretty awesome. But now that we've got them started, we've got to keep them engaged. And the way that you keep them engaged is giving them more opportunity. And a bill like this is just going to do exactly that for them. One of the greatest outcomes of the student angling part of it is really not just engaging the youth, but the youth coming back from events. Maybe they went and fished with Billy next door. They come back home, they talk to mom and dad and say, hey, we would really love to have you, mom and dad, get involved as well. So we're re-engaging a lot of those. Again, I think the opportunity is really to take these young anglers, keep them engaged. As all of us know, much of the DNR budget comes from license sales, and all of these kids are starting to buy licenses, and the more that we can keep them engaged, the better off we're going to be. I thank all of you. I ask for your support. I agree it's bipartisan. It should be a great thing, but thank you very kindly.
Thank you for your testimony. Next, Mr. Persons, DNR Fisheries Section Manager. Please introduce yourself for the record.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Brad Parsons, Fisheries Section Manager for the Minnesota DNR. I can keep this brief and talk that the biological statistics that Jimmy provided, we support those. We have been following our bass populations for many years in this state. Currently, bass actually are spawning more into May and June as opposed to March and April when this proposed fishing season would occur. And so there are really no concerns about interfering with bass. Bass are doing quite well in this state and throughout the upper Midwest. And we see this as an opportunity to provide more angling experience for people with no biological risk, particularly given the fact that in the spring, the water is cold, fish are fairly shallow, hooking mortality with catch and release would be extremely low, and we see no biological reason. We have looked very closely and worked very closely about the biology of this, and we feel comfortable that this is something that can be provided to the anglers with no conservation risk.
Thank you very much for your testimony. Anybody in the audience today that would like to testify to the bill? Seeing none, members, questions, Representative Purcell.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. To the bill author, so what would the season be if I am going to get a license? Is it on the calendar year? Maybe this is a DNR question. Thank you.
Chair Nash, or your testifier?
Mr. Chair, I'll let the testifier handle that.
Go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Yes, our license season begins March 1st and runs through the end of the following February. So with this, it would really all it would change would be allowing angling from the close in February until the current opener, which is in the second Saturday of May.
While we wait for other members that might have questions, I was curious, you did talk a little bit already about the increase in populations. And I think you said, or somebody did, and every year we've seen an increase. Maybe Mr. Bell said that, but Mr. Parsons, you could address this very easily, I'm assuming. Is there any factors that were specifically attributing to the increase in populations? There could be just good management, could be fishing itself. People are releasing more frequently. What do we know?
Yeah, one of the things we do know is that bass are harvested very rarely by people, and that has been very continuous and expanding over the years. We also have system change in our lakes in terms of clear water, which favors species such as bass, and longer growing seasons, which also favor warm water or cool water species such as bass. So it's a combination of many things. We do maintain in certain places special regulations for bass. Those are meant more for quality and larger fish as opposed to the numbers of fish.
Appreciate that answer. I would just say anecdotally, as a bow fisherman over the last decade, I felt like there was more and more bass that we would see while we're out and in the night, in the dark of night, Representative Hansen, targeting some of those species that are legal for harvest bow fishing. And yeah, it's incredible how many bass are there as we're looking for carp, common carp and other species. And just, I guess I'm not surprised to hear today that there's been a statistical increase that has shown up as well, but interesting information. Members, any other questions? Representative Hansen.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just wondering from DNR perspective, if this is something we should have like a 5 or 10 year sunset on, just to revisit it, just in case, there is an impact on the population.
Mr. Parsons?
Mr. Chair, Representative Hansen, what this would do is allow us to modify our rules to change the season, and I would fully expect our department, we will continue doing our bass surveys over the course of the years and keeping an eye on our populations. At this point, I would suspect that the department can handle that through our rulemaking process.
Any other questions, members? All right, seeing none, Chair Nash, if you'd like to close us out.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chair and members. Once again, thank you to the bipartisan authorship on this. Bass fishing is a tremendous outdoor activity, and yes, the outdoors is cool. And, I spend, I think, about 100 days a year fishing, and when I'm on my boat, I call it sales calls so that I can tell people, sorry, I can't take your meeting, I'm out on sales calls. But if you go to somewhere like Mille Lacs and you just look anecdotally through the water, you will see far more smallmouth than you've ever seen before in the many years I've been going up there. It is a tremendous fishery, and what this bill would do would allow more people to really be able to experience the fish of a lifetime, because a smallmouth on an ultralight is probably about the best type of fishing you're ever going to do, because it's an incredible ride. So with that, Mr. Chair, thank you so much.
Thank you for presenting your bill. With that, additionally, the bill is laid over.